Kia ora team, how are ya? Now you've heard me talk about VAST data and how we think this technology is pretty good. Now I know talking to the sales guy is always one of those times when you're like, yeah, get me someone who knows what they're talking about. Or better still, get me someone who's actually put it in. Right, so let's do that. Here's Grant Miller.
Ingenuity is a post facility doing primarily visual effects for television, film, commercials.
My name is Grant Miller. I'm a creative director and visual effects supervisor. I was supposed to be a banker. Everyone in my family is a banker, and I dislike ties and banks. So one of the things I really think people appreciate about Ingenuity is just the consistency in the team. We're always improving on the work that we're doing instead of just kind of starting from scratch with a new batch of freelancers every time.
So we really focus on automating away kind of anything that, as an artist or a producer you would have to do from a tool standpoint. And we also really focus on providing the team, the tier that's doing the work, kind of best in class in terms of render power, server speed, that sort of thing, because the creativity that you get from that, I think, really comes through when you're not waiting on stuff, when you're not slowed down by kind of the minutia of just getting the job done. We, prior to VAST, had one server that was for caching and one server that was for 2K projects, a different server that was for 4K projects, a different server for like backup of old stuff. And we were shopping around, had kind of looked at a bunch of different companies. And I think one of the things that was appealing to us about VAST was that it's very kind of slick and easy to manage and easy to see where the data is, which I think is useful just for dev and for IT to kind of know, like, it's a huge resource for us as a studio, and you need to kind of have visibility into where that resource is being spent and how that's being allocated. And then just from a simplicity standpoint, in terms of compression and in terms of kind of setup, it's like, it's all Flash. There's not, you're not trying to kind of configure what's the front end cache, what kind of files do we want, how big do we want, how long do we want to hold on to those? Like, your access speed for file A is the same as file Z, and everything can kind of just live on one huge server, get compressed, and kind of move on with your life. So it fit, I think, with our ethos in terms of how we prioritize kind of setting things up, in just that it kind of checked a lot of those boxes in terms of visibility and simplicity. Yeah, I think it might be like 60% reduction.
Yeah, okay.
I would have to take a look, but it's shockingly high on some things. You're like, did you save all the files?
Right. And my
you put a project on it and it's like, oh, this is 81% reduced size, and you're like, how?
The approach is what we call similarity-based data reduction, and it's very revolutionary in the space, where we kind of are able to compress independent blocks from independent files together into just compression clusters. And so, with respect to our work in the VFX space, this kind of gets really interesting, particularly when you have like artists that are creating multiple transformations or multiple versions of the same shot. They're trying out different things. Well, it turns out a lot of those assets really compress really well together. And I think historically, before we started kind of working in this space, we were thinking, well, maybe animation data didn't reduce that well. And then we realized it was kind of all polygons and a bunch of vectors that needed to be reduced down, and we realized there was a lot that we could do. And so on average, we see about 2-to-1 data reduction with our animation and VFX customers, and that's one of the ways that we take studios like Ingenuity to the point where you don't have to worry about the economics of Flash anymore, because it's all just affordable enough for all of your data.